Scuttling along the dry and thirsty riverbed, a lone scorpion hurries desperately looking for shade. Suddenly it stops and raises its pinches and tail in an aggressive manner as it spots a small worm-like creature wriggling itself into a hole in the ground. Cautiously making its way towards the worm, the scorpion opens its razor-like pinchers, ready to strike at its potential meal. The scorpion stops again and leaps at the worm with the speed of a dart. Whoosh! It disappeared. The worm escaped down the hole. Then, as if in a panic, the scorpion raises its tail and pinches in an aggressive way again. It turns around anxiously, and all of a sudden the ground beneath the scorpion explodes, flicking it in the air. The scorpion lands on its back, then quickly wriggles itself to its feet. It turns where it was stood to see a much larger hole. The worm then reappears from this hole and begins to writhe as if in pain on the surface. The scorpion, hungry, angry, but bemused by the whole experience, cautiously makes its way towards the defenceless worm, pauses before making the deadly attack, then whoosh! The scorpion has leapt at the worm, but itself is now hissing and shrieking in pain as 5 more worm-like creatures appear to spring up from the hole and have a hold of the scorpion with minute teeth like needles. A shadow is cast over the struggling creatures, and the scorpion gets mercilessly pulled down the hole. This shadow was also created by a group of predators out on the hunt. These predators, though, were a group of men making their way home after an unsuccessful night's hunting. Tired and hungry, the party stopped to have a drink. One of the men pulls out a pair of binoculars and stands on top of the dried-up riverbank. He puts them to his eyes and scans the horizon. His gaze fixed on what looks like a desert fort with a strange symbol made of metal above the entrance. But to the men, it's no hostile fort. It's their home. It's their commune. Staring at the commune, the man with binoculars speaks with a worried voice to his companions. "Damn!" "What's wrong, Stephen?" replies a tall, dark-skinned man who then passes water to somebody else. Stephen pulls his binoculars down to his chest and looks at the ground in disappointment. They are waiting again. Hoto must have told him we didn't catch anything again, says a long-haired and muscular man. He stands up from the ground and brushes the dust and sand off of himself, then takes the binoculars off of Stephen. "Well, we best get home. No point keeping them waiting even if we didn't catch anything." The men pick themselves up and climb the embankment and set off to the commune. Daniel catches up with Stephen and quietly asks him, "Did you see Paulison at the gates?" Stephen frowns towards the ground, then looks at Daniel into the eyes. "Yes, I'm afraid so." "Shoot!" Daniel looks ahead in disappointment. "I can't stand her being down, but when she sees we haven't caught anything... Damn it!" "Well, it's best you put on a brave face, my friend, as your wife is not the only one waiting for you." "Huh? Oh no, Michael?" "I'm afraid so. But he should be at school." Stephen looks at Daniel and shrugs his shoulders. Meanwhile, at the commune gates, a woman kneels down to speak to her infant son. "I'm sorry, Michael, but it doesn't look like your father is going to be back for a while." "But Mum, he's coming, I can feel him near." "No, I'm sorry, Michael, you're already late for school, and there is no sign of your father anywhere." She stands up and frowns and looks at the horizon. Michael then looks up to his mother and says in textbook form, "If the vision of your eyes doesn't help your mind, use the eye within your mind to help your vision," and points to his forehead. His mother laughs and kneels down to kiss him. "Ah, so you do listen to what Hoto teaches you," she says. She grabs hold of him and begins to tickle him. He struggles and laughs. "Go on, off to school, you cheeky little chipmunk," and with that he cheekily runs off, shouting back to his mother, "I'm not a chipmunk, I'm a human, silly, ha ha!" It's mid-morning in the commune, and one of the busiest times of day. It is hot and sunny, and that is not unusual, as it hardly rains in these parts anymore. The commune people do most of their work and activities in early morning and early evening, as it is far too hot during the hours of midday. The people normally sleep during the midday, and whoever and whatever gets caught in the mid-afternoon sun without any shade or water will feel its intense and blistering heat burn into their skin. This is on everyone's mind as the sun climbs across the sky. Michael bursts into the front door and stands in the doorway catching his breath and looking around. A classroom attendant in robes is stood at the back of the classroom and leers at Michael. Michael gives a nervous smile to the man and quietly closes the door behind him. He turns around and looks for a space to sit down, smiling as the other children make eye contact with him as they sit cross-legged on the floor. Then, at the back of the classroom, an older girl beckons him and makes a space next to her. His nervousness goes away and he makes his way towards her. He sits down between her and a smaller, younger girl. The girl who beckoned him is Tara, and the younger girl to Michael's left is Sam, his closest friends. He looks at Tara out the corner of his eye and smiles. She pokes him in the leg and smirks. He pinches her and tries not to laugh. The classroom attendant behind him tells him to be quiet. "You two, shush." The children then look to the front of the room to see a hooded figure covered in a white cloak sat on a small stool. Serenity settles in the classroom, and the figure begins to raise its hood. Michael's face is in awe as the figure's face emerges. First the chin, slightly pointed and fairly thin, then a small, and thin lipped slit-like mouth, which looked like it could hardly open. The hood continued to creep back slowly, revealing in proportion to the face a small baby-like nose with two pinhole-like nostrils, and then the most beautiful but strangest part of this person's face, his eyes, so big, so wide, it made his face seem like it was stretched sideways. It seemed like half his face was covered by these giant pearl-like eyes. They got narrow at either side and were slightly slanted, and as the hood was completely removed, his peculiar forehead was visible. This person, although bizarre and not human in appearance, was still beautiful in his own kind of way, and he was more than just not human in appearance. He was not human at all. He was an extraterrestrial being adopted by these people as priest and teacher, an extraterrestrial who went by the name of Hoto. The alien priest closed his eyes, and the classroom attendants closed the curtains. It was pitch black, you could hardly see a thing, but the children were not scared, as this was routine for them. Then Hoto's eyes began to glow, even though they were closed. His eyelids were being lit up as the light his eyes were emanating shone through. Then the children then closed their eyes and sat in a meditative manner. The alien then lifted his hands up in front of his chest, as if to receive something. Then light began to course through his veins, shining through his skin. The light coursing through his body got brighter and brighter, then a ball of light appeared in the air above his outstretched hands. The children, with their eyes closed, and now in a deep trance, lifted their hands up in the same manner as their alien teacher. Suddenly, small points of light shone on their foreheads, followed by small balls of light hovering above their hands in the same way as Hoto. The classroom attendants would not go into this trance, but stand still in the dark with their hoods over their heads and faces, so not to break Hoto's concentration. The air was alive and electric, and a beautiful energy was building up within the classroom, and once every child was comfortable within their trance, there was a mighty flash of light and a sensation that would travel through everyone in the classroom. Michael, wake up, speaks a strong yet warm voice, in a still and silent environment. Come on, Michael, wake up, says a cutely spoken voice. Sam, is that you? Michael calls out, who can hear but all he can see is darkness. Yes, now come on, slow coach. Michael opens his eyes to see a small blonde-haired girl stood in front of him. That's it, you're getting better. Michael looks around to find himself in a strange, beautiful place. The ground he has stood on has the appearance of blue, crystal-clear water. The sky is almost the same. There are no trees, no mountains, just a blue, flat crystal landscape and a blue, cloudless sky. All the children are around him, either breaking out of their trances or walking around with Hoto, who is tending to the other children, individually waking them up. I was first up today. I woke up before Jasmine, and even before Hoto came to me. Really? Michael answers, surprised. Sam helps Michael to his feet, and her long hair is blowing around as if there is a strong wind. Sam, why do you do that? You know there is no wind here. Hee hee. It's fun, and Hoto tells me to learn to use the power of my mind. And with that, Sam starts running around, arms outstretched, making her hair and lilac dress blow in the wind as she is creating this with the power of her mind. My hair is angel wings. You see, I will get really good and grow real wings. You just wait and see. Then all of a sudden, Sam stops in her tracks, and her hair and dress become still. Not again, Sam says with a sigh, and is looking towards Hoto and the other group of children. Michael looks over too. It's Tara. She's not coming through, Michael says. The pair see Hoto and the other 6 children stood around Tara, the older girl that created the space for Michael in the classroom. Tara still sat on the floor and stuck in a trance. They both approach the group and watch. Hoto is now different. His skin isn't a dull eggshell colour, but a luminescence to it, and he doesn't seem so frail. He is knelt down in front of Tara and is trying to wake her out of her trance. Tara, wake up, child. It's okay, you're safe, Hoto says to Tara. The children watch on anxiously as Hoto places his hand on Tara's head. Hoto builds a stronger telepathic link between him and Tara. What is that, child? You don't like this place? I know, dear, but it's the only way I can show you all I need to. There is a long pause, and then Hoto turns his head and speaks to the other children. Children, please still your minds and not worry. You only confuse her. Michael and Sam hold hands and stay on the spot, whilst the other children walk a short distance away and focus on calming their minds. Hoto then speaks to Tara again. What is that, my dear? Hoto turns round to see Michael and Sam still stood behind him. He smiles and says, She wants you two close by. Sam and Michael walk around Hoto, and Sam glides to the floor cross-legged as Michael sits down opposite Sam. Both of them are either side of Tara, and each take one of her hands. Hoto takes his hand off of Tara's head, and takes one of Sam's hands, and one of Michael's, so forming a circle. "Come on, Tara, you're supposed to look after me," says Sam. "Yeah, you big sissy. Come on," says Michael, as they both giggle. "That's it. Abandon your fears. You are safe here, child," says Hoto. And with that, Tara opens her eyes. "Good girl. Well done," says Hoto. Sam hugs Tara, and they get up off the floor. The other children clap and cheer around Tara. "You really must open up here more, Tara. There's nothing to be scared of here," Sam says. Tara frowns and puts her hands on her waist and looks at Michael. "Sissy, am I, Mike?" she says. Michael laughs and darts behind Hoto as Tara tries to grab him. Now, children. Calm down. It's time for today's history lesson," Hoto says in a warm manner. All the children gather around Hoto except Sam, who is in a world of her own, running around flapping her arms like a bird, whilst making her hair and dress blow around as if there was a strong wind. Hoto calls out to Sam, "Sam dear, come along please," and with that Sam flaps her way over to Hoto and the others. All the children now gathered around Hoto. He lifts his left hand as the other is resting on a young girl's shoulder who is holding on to him. An orb of light appears above his left hand, and the centre of his forehead begins to glow. Then a bubble appears around the group of children and Hoto. Hoto looks at the children in a reassuring manner and says, "Everyone all right? Then let's begin." Some children stay near Hoto as if slightly scared, but others have no fear and press their faces against the bubble as if waiting for something. The blue landscape begins to unsettle, and a blue crystal-like floor begins to wobble and rise as if made of jelly, and then columns of blue crystal morph from the ground and the sky and break into globules as they rise and fall like the contents of a lava lamp. Most of the children are laughing in amazement, safe inside the bubble, as it's tossed around by the chaotic environment. Suddenly a boy shouts out, "It's coming! Look, it's coming!" in a highly excited voice. Everyone turns around to see a lightning erupting, undulating blue wave-like wall formed by the sky linking with the ground. "Wow," Michael says to himself, as a blue wave-like wall hurtles towards the bubble with the children inside. The noise of the wall gets louder and louder. "Here we go!" screams one girl, and with that, the lightning attaches to the bubble, and the wall crashes past with a terrific noise. Then suddenly all is silent. Sam pulls her hands away from her face, opens her eyes and looks around. The bubble is no longer around the group, and they are no longer in the blue environment they were only moments ago. They are now stood on a hill, overlooking a lush valley. There are trees and plants which are green and alive, a huge lake and fresh grass everywhere, and down in the valley thousands of people stood in a giant circle, holding up peace and welcome signs. Some of the children look over the edge of the hill and lay in the grass, others remain around Hoto. Hoto then speaks to the children. On our arrival to Earth, the world was in chaos. The global war between nations was well underway. Humans had been tricked into conflict once again. We the Sultai could not force our way into your societies, or show any hostilities towards your armies, as this could then be twisted against us, and used by Earth's leaders, that what they were saying was true, that we were destructive, evil, and only wanted to take over the Earth for ourselves. This, of course, was a lie. We had to use stealth and telepathy to contact strong-minded individuals around the world to try and spread our word. The Earth's leaders' deception almost worked. However, thousands of people around the world saw the truth. Then, above the children, 3 ginormous flying craft appear, and many smaller flying craft accompanied them. The craft were massive, with windows and lights all over them. From the underside of the large craft, some bay doors opened, and some other flying objects left the bay doors and began to descend towards the crowd. The objects hovered above the thousands of people, as the people below made clearings for them to land. Hoto then speaks again. We still managed to arrange a massive rescue and pick-up operation. We sent all our available craft to the people of Earth's aid in a desperate attempt to save as many people and animals as possible. Then, the smaller craft that descended from the massive ships landed in the clearings amongst the crowd of people. They were some sort of teleportation device, as they are no bigger than a small house, yet hundreds of ETs poured out of them, and clad in armour and carrying weapons, along with many 2-legged robots piloted by ETs. The ETs, or as they are called, the Soltarians, were guiding people quickly into the teleportation craft by the dozen, and as people entered the teleportation craft, golden balls of energy shot upwards from a dome and some towers on top of the craft, and flew towards the huge motherships patiently waiting above. Hoto then speaks to the children again, but as we suspected, the Earth's insane and paranoid government and military forces intervened. Then from above the children's heads, squadrons of stealth-type aircraft fly by and begin attacking the three giant Soltarian motherships. Panic consumes the people in the valley as the Soltarian fighters engage the squadrons attacking the motherships. Soltarians desperately are rushing people in teleportation craft as their two-legged robots and soldiers engage government military forces and armoured vehicles that storm the valley, shooting at everything and everyone. Hoto then jolts his head back as if in fear of something behind him. "No, it can't be, not yet," Hoto says to himself. "Hoto, what's wrong? Why are you scared?" Michael says in a worried and puzzled voice. Hoto, panic-stricken but trying to remain calm, speaks quickly to the children. "Children, quickly, gather round." All the children, now anxious and some quite scared to see Hoto acting this way, rush and gather round him. He puts his arm around them and speaks quickly again and in a worried voice. "Children, forgive me. This was not meant to happen like this. When you wake up, you must run and hide, understand? Just run and hide." "Hoto, what's going on?" Sam replies almost in tears. Mike yells for Tara as chaos is going on around them. "Tara! Tara!" Tara puts her arms around Michael and Sam, who are hugging each other, and angrily screams at Hoto. You lied! You lied to me! You said there'd be nothing to fear! You said we'd be safe!" Lightning is erupting and crackling from the ground and sky. The scenery is distorting and morphing as the motherships are crashing to the ground as the battle ensues in the valley. The whole landscape is in chaos. Hoto's face is in anguish. "I'm sorry, children. I'm sorry." "Ah!" Hoto screams in pain as light shoots out from his mouth and eyes and courses through his body. Then an almighty light surges out of him and throughout the entire landscape like an atomic blast. Michael opens his eyes. They are all back in the classroom. He looks around anxiously to see the children still stuck in a trance, holding their head in pain and confusion. Hoto is getting up from the floor and holding his head in agony. He comes to and looks to the main door in fear and rushes to the children still stuck in a trance. Michael, scared and confused, is rooted to the spot. There's a banging at the door as if someone's trying to force their way in. Some classroom attendants are barricading the door shut, whilst others are trying to calm the children down. "Mike, come on!" Tara picks up Michael, who then snaps out of it. Tara, what's going on?" Then suddenly the barricade of the door gives way as soldiers in armoured suits burst in the room and shout, "There it is! Don't kill it!" Some soldiers surround Hoto, who is trying to push the children away from him. "Don't move! Don't move!" a soldier shouts at Hoto. The attendants try to attack the soldiers, but the soldiers shoot them down in a hail of plasma bullets. "Michael, for God's sakes, come on!" Tara says. Michael then snaps out of it again and turns to see Tara and Sam hiding behind a door leading to a small room. Sam is cowering behind Tara. Then suddenly a soldier spots Michael and points his gun at him. Hoto, who is being tied up, sees a soldier who is about to shoot Michael. Hoto's eyes glow intensely, and a light on his forehead shines just as bright, as a bolt of light erupts from Hoto's forehead and attaches itself to the soldier who is about to shoot Michael. The beam of light is linking Hoto's head to the soldiers. The other soldiers who are tying up Hoto let go of him and raise their guns to shoot him. "Don't shoot! We gotta take it back alive!" The soldiers, still panicking, continue to point their weapons at Hoto. The soldier who is connected to Hoto's light beam is stood up, but shaking and making noises as if he is having a fit of some kind. The soldier suddenly turns, lifts up his gun, and shoots the other soldiers. "Michael, come on!" Michael runs to Tara and Sam. They run to the corner of a small room where there is a hole in the wall that Tara has kicked through. Sam is crying and gunfire and screams can be heard coming from outside. "I'll go first, make sure it's safe. Then Sam, then you, okay, Michael?" says Tara. Mike says, Yes, okay. Sam screams and holds on to Tara as she scrambles through the hole. Tara crawls out to see chaos, fires and people being shot all around. Tara crawls back into the room. "Sam, come on, hurry up," says Tara. Michael turns away from the hole and in the wall and can see through the door. Hoto is panting and struggling to remain on his feet. All the soldiers are dead. Then 3 more soldiers burst in and leap back in shock at the sight of Hoto swaying around. Hoto then fires a bolt of light from his head again and telepathically links onto the head of one of the soldiers. The other 2 soldiers bolt at Hoto quickly. He quickly does the same and links onto both of them. The soldiers are screaming and holding their heads in pain as they begin to shake. Hoto is also in great pain and begins to scream. Then a larger, different armoured soldier bursts in the room with a party of other soldiers. They all jump back at the sight of Hoto. You could not see the expressions on their face for their face masks and armour, but you could tell they were surprised, apart from the giant one. They all jumped back at the sight of Hoto linked onto the three shaking soldiers. The larger soldier commands one of the soldiers towards Hoto, and they all point their weapons at him, apart from one who fumbles with a box pulling out a syringe full of luminous liquid and a needle. "Michael! Michael!" Tara yells. Michael, sweating and petrified, turns away from the door and crawls through the hole in the wall. Tara is pulling Sam by the hand and Michael follows. Sam stretches her arm out for Michael to hold onto her hand. It is chaos. There is fighting going on everywhere. The three children run through the commune, desperately avoiding being caught. A soldier bursts out of a door right in front of the trio and points his gun at them. Tara spreads her arms out, trying to shield Sam and Michael behind her, as they are all froze on the spot. Then a commune member, covered in blood, bursts out from the door and attacks the soldier. Tara and Sam run, but Michael doesn't. He can see Hoto being bundled into the back of a vehicle. He looks dead, then suddenly his eyes opens, and he looks at Michael. "Michael, run. You must stick with the others. Now run." Hoto's voice echoes in Michael's mind. He begins to cry and then begins to run to catch up with Sam and Tara as the vehicle Hoto is in speeds off. Tara is waiting for Michael hidden in the building doorway. As he goes to run past heavily crying, Tara grabs him and pulls him inside. Inside the building, Michael's mother is hugging and kisses Sam on the head. Michael runs to his mum, and she hugs Sam and Michael together. Everyone is crying except Tara, who has pulled back a rug and lifted up a trapdoor. Tara calls out to the others, "Come on, hurry up!" Michael's mother ushers Sam and Michael over to the hole in the ground. Sam jumps down in the hole and curls up in a ball crying. Tara then hugs Michael's mum and says, "I'll take good care of them, I promise." Tara then jumps in the hole and hugs Sam. Mike cries, looking at his mum. "Mum! Mum! Mummy, come on, you can fit in," Michael says, crying and blubbering. His mum wipes her face with tears and kisses him on the head and calls to Tara. As Tara stands up to grab Michael, his mum kneels down and says to him, "You must get in and be quiet, you hear me? Desperately try not to cry." She walks away, as Tara pulls Michael into the hole, who begins to scream for his mum, who is barricading the door. "Michael, be quiet, or we'll all be killed," says Tara. Paula looks down at them. "I love you, son." Then she closes the trapdoor and slides the rug over. Thump, thump, crash! Paula jumps up as the front door gets kicked in. Michael shrugs off Tara and looks through a crack in the trapdoor. Armoured boots rush through the door, then gunfire. Tara restrains Michael and puts her hand over his mouth, stopping him from screaming. Thump! Michael's mother falls to the floor with tears in her eyes and blood trickling from her mouth.